All right, the question for tonight is, which is more important, prayer or praise? So though this question asks which one's more important, I don't believe that God places one over the other. Prayer and praise are equal value in our walk with God. And not only are they of equal importance, but they're also greatly intertwined and work together in our worship of God. So praise and prayer are so intertwined that they can't, or at least shouldn't, exist outside of each other. Prayer is how we communicate with God, as you guys probably know, while praise is how we adore God. But these two often overlap. Because prayer is how we communicate with God, we also use prayer to praise God for all that he's done and who he is. So in our praise, for example, in worship, we're often singing a prayer to God and communicating through our praise also. So praise should not only appear during worship songs, but should be as much a part of our day as prayer is, and should actually be a part of our prayer. We should praise God in our prayers. And prayer isn't just about asking God for things, but it's also a time to praise God for prayers he's answered and who he is. So there's a couple examples I want to talk about tonight of how prayer and praise are intertwined in the Bible. So the first is Acts 16:25 through 26. And it says, "About midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the prisoners were listening to them, and suddenly there was a great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken. Here we see Paul and Silas as they're in prison, and they're both praying and praising God simultaneously. Then there's the book of Psalms, which is literally a book of songs and poems that would be used in worship. But even though there's praises in there, there's also prayers in there. And then there's the last and probably the best example, which is the Lord's Prayer. The Lord's Prayer can be found in Matthew or Luke, and it's the model prayer that Jesus taught to the disciples. And the first line is, "Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name." The prayer then goes on to ask God for things, but it starts with praising God. Hallowed be your name is a request for God's name to be honored and praised. In the example that Jesus taught to others, he set a model of praising being a part of prayer. So by looking at the example set by Jesus and the other biblical characters in the Bible, it's clear that praise and prayer are of equal importance and should be practiced as such.